Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee. I'm Chef Renee, and today we're going to be making pan-seared salmon with citrus glazed sweet potatoes. Yummy! We're also going to be making some asparagus to go with that. So come on, let's get started. We're going to get started with our citrus glazed sweet potatoes because they're going to need to cook down. So I have some sweet potatoes right here, already diced nicely, and I have another one here because I wanted to show you how we cut that up. So I'm just going to shake some of that water off. I'm going to take off as much of the outer white or lighter peeling. See, I like to get right straight to the sweet potatoes because that part is sweeter. But since we're letting it sit in the bowl, you know, we left it on. So I'm just going to scrape that off. See how easy it is? It's just as easy even when the peel is on. All right, so we're going to scrape that off. And it won't hurt you if you eat that. That's not bad at all. All right, so now that we have that off, there we are. Just going to scrap that. Here we are. There we are. And we're going to cut the sweet potato. Let me wipe that a little bit. Now we're going to just move the diced potatoes over. All right, and then we're going to cut right into that sweet potato. And this is very easy to cut. Once you flatten it out, then it's just easy. So we are going to cut this in nice chunks. Now, the sweet potato is actually going to boil in orange juice. Can you believe that? Orange juice. Now, you can do this same dish that I'm doing with butternut squash if you'd like. That is tasty too. I would change the orange juice, though, to perhaps some sort of cider vinegar or apple cider. That was part of another recipe from which I adapted this recipe. So we're going to use sweet potatoes here. Nice, good sizes because they're going to boil and boil down. Now, this is a quick, easy dish. And you know, I love having all of the colors of the rainbow represented on my plate. That way, I'm sure I'm getting as many vitamins and nutrients and minerals as I possibly can. So the potatoes are actually going to cook for a while. Once you put everything in the pan, you don't need to do anything else to those potatoes except shake them, maybe move it around. Everything's going to cook down, and then they're going to get this delicious glaze that has a charcoal color on it. To be delicious. So I'm going to turn on my burner. Let's get that going. All right, I'm going to add in, I'm going to get a spoon, and I'm going to add in the potatoes. Let's do this. Now, it's okay here if you don't dry the sweet potatoes, and the reason is because we're going to put orange juice in here, another liquid. But let's say if you were frying them, you want to make sure that you dry the potatoes so that the oil and the water don't mix. So we're going to get some nice, let's see, good amount of potatoes in here. I don't really want the potatoes to be standing on top of each other, so I think that's going to be sufficient for us for now. So we're going to get rid of those. Dry my hands up a little. We're going to need, I think I have here maybe about a cup of orange juice. And it's just regular orange juice. I have some cardamom, and you can use, you know, if you want, you can add nutmeg to this. It's completely up to you. I'm going to add in my salt. And what salt does is it takes sort of the newness of a potato taste away. You didn't know that, huh? Gonna add my sugar. And I'm only gonna use just a little canola oil. And the reason that we're putting the oil in is it's another way to make sure that when this cooks down to a glaze, it's not going to stick. And I'm also going to put butter in it. The butter is going to be for flavor and for the not sticking as well. Let's get that stirred. Wait until you see this finished and wait until you taste it. It smells really, really good. The cardamom and that orange juice together smells delicious. We usually have the sweet potatoes at Thanksgiving. And one thing my aunt taught me, my great aunt, that when she would make it, she would actually scoop out the insides of the oranges. And then she would, after she cooked her sweet potatoes and mashed them up and flavored them and seasoned them how she wanted, she would then put them inside the orange shell, if you would, and then she'd put them in the oven and bake them, and they were fabulous. So that's another thing you could do. We're gonna put a lid on here because we do want this to come up to a boil. And then we're gonna take the lid off and let all of the orange juice evaporate. And that's gonna give us our glaze. So I'm just gonna put all of this away. And we can get started on our asparagus next. Now, I'm going to bring out a plate for our asparagus. We are going to I'm going to put the plate over on the side while I take the asparagus. Now, today I'm going to be using our thin asparagus. I'm also going to be using the thin green, and I'm going to be using the white. And I would have done the purple, but the market didn't have them. So all you want to do is just make sure that you take the bottoms off of the asparagus. Now, you can do this in two ways. You can cut it like I'm going to cut it. You can just pop it, and it would break at the point where, you know, it's not as tender. Or you can take your peeler and just peel off on the ends until you get to the tender part of it. But I'm going to do it the easy way. I'm just going to slice it. There we are. Easy peasy. And then we get rid of those. They're very tough to chew, so we are not going to eat them. We're just going to go ahead and trash them. Here, let's get another cutting board here. Now, all right, we have our asparagus nicely prepared. I'm going to drizzle some olive oil, and I use garlic olive oil. All right, so we have that. We're going to sprinkle a little salt. And at this juncture, if you had garlic powder and you use regular, olive oil, that's perfectly fine as well. I'm going to crush some fresh black pepper. And I am going to mix these all up. I want to make sure all of the asparagus gets coated. All right, and I'm going to let it sit for just a moment, right over to the side. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to make a mustard caper sauce that will knock you off your feet. We'll be back in just a moment. Hi, I'm Chef Renee of Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee. And thanks to you, we've expanded and are now aired on several different networks. Check your local listings to find out when you can tune in to Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee. And thanks for watching. Welcome back. I am just checking on our citrus glazed sweet potatoes, which are doing just fine. And we are going to put on our asparagus now. All right, so our pan has heated for our asparagus. I'm just going to spray that. Now, the reason I'm spraying the pan is, of course, I don't want it to stick, but also I want a charcoal color and flavor on the asparagus. So I'm going to put those in there. You heard my sizzle, right? You're supposed to say faux shizzle. Yeah. All right, let's get some more in there if I'm not losing them all over the place. Let's get them all on there. There we are. And they're going to get a nice dark charcoal on them that is going to be perfect. There we are. So we're going to leave those. And I like to push them down every now and then just to make sure I'm getting that sear that I'm looking for. All right, there we are. Let's move this out of the way. All right, now while we're waiting on the asparagus, let me get my handy dandy tongs out. We are going to make a mustard caper sauce that actually goes on the asparagus as well as the salmon. It's going to bring everything together because it has lemon zest in it, has this delicious capers that's going to give it a delicious flavor. So first, we're going to chop up our capers. Now, chopping up the capers allows a few things that if you wanted to put it into a squirt bottle, you can. But also, it assures that you're not going to bite into one and get this really overwhelming salty taste because we already have the lemon going on. Now, also, while I'm doing this, I'm keeping an eye on the asparagus. And I'm looking over at our sweet potatoes, which seem to be doing just beautifully. Now, by the time we finish everything, they will be finished. Everything will be hot and ready to consume. Yum. So I'm just going to chop a little more. Now, we love capers in our home, so if you don't like capers, you don't have to use it. I'm also going to add in a little cayenne pepper to give it a little hot bite. So we've got our capers all nice and ready. I'm going to scoop, put the capers in the bowl. There we are. I'm going to wipe that down. All right. And we are going to add our, let me see what we want to use. Going to add our mayo. See if I can get that in there. There we are. And I think that's about half a cup of mayo. We're going to get our mustard. This is Dijon mustard. For me, I think it's important because it gives it, oh, I don't know, it gives it sort of kind of like a rustic taste, the mustard. I'm going to use a little water. I'm going to use some pepper. And this is to your taste. Not going to use all of that because remember, I have some cayenne. Ooh, spicy. And I have a little red wine vinegar. And let's start whisking. This is really, really tasty. And it doesn't have to be limited to this dish. You can use it on anything. I hear our asparagus. I'm going to taste a little of this. That's very good. Let me wash my hands. That's very good. I'm going to zest a little, maybe just half or a quarter of the lemon. And of course, lemon goes well with asparagus and salmon. There we are. And whisk that in. Perfect. Let's check on our asparagus. I hear them. I'm going to turn them. Oh boy, do they smell wonderful. I could just roll them over, but I like to turn them. Let's keep that going. They are so beautiful and so delicious, and they still are going to have that firm crunch to it when we eat it. I'm going to also check on our sweet potatoes. Look at this. This is exactly what you want. Look at how beautiful that is. Now, what I've done, because this is exactly what I want. Oh, and they smell fantastic. I want to make sure we get some of that glaze, all of that brown, yummy goodness on all of the potatoes. Look at that. Also, the sugars from the orange juice, which is why we only used a little sugar, actually helped with the glaze. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. So I've turned the burner off. We are all set with our potatoes. What we are going to do next is I do need to get the mayonnaise in the refrigerator. So we're going to get that in the refrigerator, the sauce, while we have it because it has mayonnaise in it. We're also going to take the asparagus off, and when we come back, we'll get started on the seared salmon. Yay! If you've had a fabulous food or a wonderful dining experience while traveling or on vacation, we'd like to hear about it. Send in a picture and a brief description of the place, the fabulous food, and the delightful dining experience to simplyfreshestfood@gmail.com. We'll share some of your fabulous dining destinations with our viewers. We love good food here wherever it can be found. So let us hear from you at simplyfreshestfood@gmail.com. Welcome back. You are just in time to get started on our salmon. All right, we have some nice thick cuts of salmon. You just want to be sure that you're not getting like that belly part. That's not good. That's not tasty. So get you some nice thick pieces of salmon, or you can buy it whole and fillet it yourself. That's even better. So I have here some, a few herbs and spices to blacken up the salmon as I cook it there. And then I have a little butter. I've already oiled the pan. What we're going to do is we're going to season up the salmon, and I'm going to season the other side when I get it on the burner. And this is not spicy, so if you'd like, you can add a lot of it or create something that you do like. All right, and I see my oil is really going here. And that's great. And I'm going to tell you a trick or a key to making good salmon. And that is, I think I'm going to drizzle a little bit more on here. The key to making a good seared salmon is when you put it in the pan, leave it. You leave it. If you try to pick the salmon up before it's ready, then you're going to tear it. And you're not going to get those beautiful pieces to display that you want. Now, this is a small pan, so I'm going to just set this to cook for later. All right, and like I said, don't force the salmon to be ready to turn. It will let you know, it'll loosen up from the pan, and that way you know you got a nice sear on it. Also, too, we are going to add some butter. Now, what I did, and let me move our beautiful asparagus out of the way. What I've done also is we put a little oil, it's in there. I'm going to add some butter, which is going to give it flavor, and I'm going to season that other side of the salmon. Also, I'm using a cast iron skillet. I find that if you use a cast iron skillet, you get even cooking all the way around. The temperature is even. So we have that. Going to bring over my tongs. We'll get that cleared up because when the salmon is ready, we will eat. Yay. Doesn't take salmon long, just a few moments. Let me get something to, let's see, put a little butter in. I'm going to work with the butter a little bit here. Now what I'm doing is simply just helping the butter melt along, spread out all around the pan. That's going to give it an even nicer sear, brown all around. And I can see that the salmon is cooking, and I can actually see when it's ready. So there, and this was very loose. Look at this sear. How beautiful is that? In fact, these two have joined. There we are. And that butter is going to give it an even better flavor. Look at how gorgeous that is. You too can have this kind of sear. Here, let me turn my pan so I can scoop that up. There we are. Now, it's not going to take it long. So while it's finishing up, I'm going to wipe this down and get us ready for plating. Yay, I can't wait. We've got our fork and our knife and our spoon. Everything is looking dandy. That just looks beautiful. Now, the funny thing is, you know, salmon is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, and those omega-3 acids have been proven to help to lower your risk of heart disease, cancer, and even arthritis. So you want to be sure to incorporate salmon into your weekly dinner. In fact, if you do it more often, you know, that's going to be great too. But definitely, you know, incorporate some of these omega-3 fatty acids into your diet. You're going to be the better for having done that. We eat salmon in my house at least once a week, sometimes more often. This is looking really, really beautiful. Now, sometimes when I sear salmon, once I flip it over, I finish it off in the oven, but I'm going to let it all finish here, and let's take a peek at the other side. Look at that. Just beautiful. Beautiful. just gorgeous. And like I say, it doesn't take salmon long, but just because these are thick, I let them go a little bit longer. Now, I'm going to turn my burner off. The induction burner is off. There's no heat being conducted from it. As soon as you turn it off, it's off. But because this is a cast iron skillet, there is still some of the heating within that cast iron. So that's going to finish off my salmon perfectly. In the meantime, I'm going to start plating. So by the time I'm ready, I know my salmon is already finished and I can dig right in. Now, remember that mustard caper sauce, I have some right here. Yay! I'm going to just drizzle a little bit on the plate. And just so that you know, I put a little chive on the top. And be creative. There we are. And I have it in this little container so that in case I want some more, it's right there. So I'm going to leave the spoon there. I am going to scoop some of this delicious and beautiful asparagus. Let's see how we want that one. Let's go this way. Isn't that just beautiful? All these colors together. I think I'll take a few more. What do you think? There we are. Isn't that beautiful? Oh man, I can't wait to dig in. And then here are our beautiful citrus glazed sweet potatoes. Let's throw a few of those around. That color and that glaze, oh my goodness, can't wait to dig into that. So we have some of those. And the star of the show. Oh, this is just beautiful. Look at that. Look at that salmon. Your family is going to love you. They probably already do. They're going to just love you even more. Now, I have to tell you, if they eat this and taste this, they're going to want you to cook from now until eternity. So get them to come in and help. All right, I'm just going to dab a little bit more. Now, this sauce is great with the asparagus as well as the salmon. So we have that. Let's see, I'm going to zest a little lemon on top. That's why I wanted to save some of the lemon for this zesting. Beautiful. So we're going to put a little lemon garnish there. We're going to sprinkle a few of the chives. Finish it off with a flour for the food. And there we have our seared salmon with asparagus and the citrus glazed yummy sweet potatoes. I'm going to take a bite of this, but before I do that, I want to thank you for allowing me to be in your kitchens. I want to welcome you back to Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee next time, and thank you to my sponsors. I'll see you then.
Simply Fresh Food with Chef Renee is sponsored by Red Tail Heart and Borath Cookware. We would like to thank Billings Forge Community Works for their ongoing community support.